Morning, Helena.
Morning, David.
How are you?
I am, I recently read something where you combine two words because you have two emotions at the same time. So let me see. I am feeling really happy and kind of free from a lot of stuff that usually bothers me in the broader scheme of things. And at this exact moment in time, I'm feeling a bit anxious and nervous because I don't know where we're going to go with this. So I'm feeling certain, hapten, unhapten. There we go. That doesn't sound right either, but sort of something like that. How are you this morning, David?
I'm feeling Sangha. If you want to go down that route, I'm feeling Sangha. I'm feeling sadness and anger. I'm angry at what I judge is people's getting in the way of progress, and sadness at what I lose in that. Yeah. And I see it all the time. Yeah. And it comes from a place of mistrust. Hey, we've got Koresh. Morning, Koresh. Now, Koresh is our good bloke. Koresh has done wonderful work in the Westbury area.
Hello, Garesh.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Helena, where are we going today?
Okay, so we spoke last week about this idea of a live coaching group, which I really love. So I thought, okay, I'll start off by making a list of names and contacting people and sensing them out. And I made a list, and then I saw that there were different kinds of people that would need slightly different reasons why they're doing why they would do it, and also different groups of people that would come together. And then I sat and looked at it and I thought, you know what, before I contact everyone, I'd love to have a better sense of what am I offering them and what will they be offering me. So what is it that we're actually going to be doing? And then there's also something around getting my head around money. And it might need 2 sessions because they're almost 2 separate things, but let's see where it goes. But I just want to contextualize it. So what's happened with me is I've done a lot of free work during lockdown. And I do it almost unconsciously. And I come from a place of not wanting to ask for money because I'm worried people will say no. I made 2 decisions during lockdown to do work for free that I quite deliberately and consciously did because I put a lot of work into it. And it felt like when I really sat with myself, it felt right to go ahead. And the reason why the client didn't have money is that funding because of lockdown. Long story short, one of those clients got back to me a week or so ago and said, listen, we've had some unexpected money. I'd really love to give you something.
What a pleasure.
I know, right? So there is for me something around being clear that I need money and being clear about the reasons why I need it, but also not letting it be the only reason why I do things. Does that make sense?
Complete sense.
Because sometimes money comes from places where I couldn't have foreseen it coming from. If I'm too new liberal about it, like you give me a pumpkin and I give you this much money. So there's something. So I would love to explore 2 things. The one is, what is it that I'm bringing and why? Like, what am I going to be gaining out of it? What are the people who comes and partakes of it gain out of it? The people who watch it gain out of it? And also, then what does it mean financially? Because that's an important part of doing anything to make it sustainable. Does that all?
Okay, so sustainability. Yeah, how do you get the balance right between finance and the romance and the love of doing something? So how do you follow your passion? How do you offer value for it? And how do you get a paid for it, where you can measure a return on the investment around it so that it's sustainable and not not one of these things that kind of go and get rich quick things, or kind of rip people off, or does that, so work in the NGO space, or working where you've got funders, you need to kind of report back to the funders of how the money's been spent and where the value is, and for the communities that you want to support, is there kind of evidence that things are working? Is that correct?
It is. And what comes up for me while you're speaking, which I loved, was what you started with, the romance, right? So there's something about looking at this project as going into a romance, where, like, for me to go into a romance with someone, I need to know that they're not going to be living off me.
Okay.
Because I can't afford to carry anyone at this stage. So there is something about, sometimes you can be wildly in love, but it's just not possible to go into that relationship.
Well, the relationship changes over time. So you have the honeymoon stage where everything's hunky-dory, and then you've got to get down and do the work and deliver. And, grow this thing, grow the organization, grow the family, grow the project, grow the kids, grow whatever it is. And that was a big breath. What came up for you there?
Well, I'm just really loving this idea of a romance or a project sitting in a greater system.
Okay.
I think it's a very Western thing to think that when we take something on, we take it on for ourselves. Well, Western is maybe not the right word. Doesn't matter what the word is. I think you know what I mean. I could get lost in that one and start waffling. There's something about, when you said that, I just suddenly saw how, and the sigh was about that, how there's this fine line with responsibility, where if having a child, if I bring somebody into my life, I need to make different choices. I need to make sure that that person is going to add to our lives. And at the same time, I wouldn't be measuring that person's humanity on the worth or the value that they bring. Does that make sense?
Tell me more. Just help me understand, and I'll tell you what's going on for me. As we're getting the comments on the side from Koresh and Dean and guys that have been working up here in Ennerdale and in Westbury, and really from a place of passion and heart, like, we've got to do things to uplift our community around. There's because it's the right thing to do, because our community's in trouble. It's I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for. It's heartwarming to see that people are going out and standing up in leadership and taking responsibility and affecting change. Yeah, and I guess I have the same hopes and aspirations as an outcome for our conversation, because I see you as somebody that has got lots and lots of heart, that gives and gives and gives, and gets burnt in the process. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing, which is great because it was part of our contract, I'm now having a conversation with myself in my head. I'm going, cool, this links up to this and this, and it can be confusing.
Okay.
So here's what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
I, as a grown-up, have got certain responsibilities. I need to pay rent, I need to pay food, and there's certain things that I need to get for my child. Those are non-negotiables, and there's something around working out what those costs are. And what would I need to do time-wise to meet those costs? That is an important first conversation for me to have with myself before I take on any work.
Okay, well,
Free
let's have
work.
that conversation now.
Okay. So, what's my situation is at the moment is because the recovery work hasn't really been paying, I've been having to take on other work, research and editing work. The issue with that is it's very time consuming, but I know what I'm getting. They phone me, they say, I need this done, this is how much I'm going to pay you, and then I need to say yes or no. It's a sure thing. It's not like getting clients or um, putting out a donation based process. So, what I've been doing is I've been looking at how can I do, and it's been working up to a point, how can I do that so that I've got enough time left to do recovery work for free? That's kind of the way I've been running it.
Okay. Why do you want to do recovery work for free?
Because most people in recovery don't have money, and up to now I haven't had access to people with money. So it feels it's a good question. Let me sit with it. Because I'm justifying myself now. So let me just sit with it.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just jump in here. So for each dollar that gets spent on the solution around recovery, you save $4 on the criminal justice system and $3 on the treatment industry. Yeah, on the treatment of the symptoms of it. And this was proved in the Surgeon General's report, the US Surgeon General's report in 2016. Yeah. So doing recovery work, doing this sort of stuff, doing the having the hard conversations, having the healing conversations, having the courageous conversations, having the sitting in circles that we spoke about last week, is good for individuals and communities, and it's good for society, and it's good for the economy, and it's good for everyone. There's a stigma that goes around it, which has impacted everyone over the past 100 years, which started with the war on drugs and all that sort of stuff. About 100 years ago, in fact, in 1923, when they classed cocaine and marijuana as the same, and prohibition and all that sort of stuff. And this culture has swept the world, and it's kind of come from it is a American westernized culture and thinking, and that has left us with a legacy that I personally feel that I need to be part of cleaning up. Yeah, and we mentioned this last week. Yeah. So unless we can start to get over our own internalized depression around, oh my God, we can't charge for this, what's the value for that? People aren't going to understand the value of it, and being able to get the return of it. So I want this sort of conversation to spend my time with you is working out what the solution is. One, to keep yourself sustainable so you can bring up your daughter, so that your daughter can have enough skill and education to continue her life and take responsibility for herself as she moves into adulthood. That's what I think the responsibility of a parent is to bring our kids up so that they can be independent and fend for themselves. And that's my underlying agenda that's kind of influencing the way I show up here with you. And I really want you to be a success because I think you're fucking brilliant. Yeah. But we need to focus on, moving to that 9, moving to the peacemaker. Yeah. The like last week we spoke about Joan of Arc, and you said, oh, well, you know what happened to her, don't you? So I thought about that a bit. So who can you be that you're not going to get your head chopped off for kind of challenging the system too much, but you can get enough support to align with all the role players that affect cultural change. And the other thing that sat with me was that what was that very clever word you used, where you become aware of the wrongs of something and then you ignore it? What was that? You were talking about the little girl that kind of became aware of her privilege and why people couldn't sit together and eat. But what was that?
Ignorance.
The what?
The ignorance contract.
The ignorance contract, yeah. The ignorance contract. So that's what sat with me the whole week. You know, what ignorance contracts have I signed? What needs to be? What do I turn a blind eye to? Do I just kind of block out? And the more and more I wake up in the matrix, the more kind of ignorant I feel that I've been. Sorry, I'm talking too much. Let me.
No. You know, there's lots moving for me while you're speaking, and the main thing that's coming through is maybe the urgency. That we can have an intellectual conversation that makes us feel good, which is nice. Or we could actually say, okay, this is the reality. And that reality is part of a greater political agenda, for lack of a less loaded word. Because the ignorance contract in South Africa was deliberately manufactured. There were very specific things that were done in the media and in setting up laws, etc., to put that in place. And then people ran with it. But it wasn't just something that happened organically. So there's something, and yeah, I'm very aware today. I think what's happening is this is a difficult subject for me. There's a lot of blind spots. There's a lot of ignorance around it in general of why I react the way I do and so on. So I can feel, you know, I can go on tangents quickly. So please call me back. I'm going to try and call it as I see it. There are people who can pay for recovery and there are people who can't pay for recovery. The reason why people can pay and cannot pay is very often part of a bigger systematic issue. So as a recovery professional, I don't want to base my work purely on money because there's some people who can't pay and that I want to work with those people as well. So there's something around how do I bring something so that those who have money pay for it and pay for those who don't have money. And they don't do it in a way of, oh, I'm giving a nice bit of charity to someone because I'm such a fantastic person. They're really giving it because they say, you know what, I'm hurting myself. The system's hurting me. And it looks like it's not because I've got money. But my healing sits with this person who doesn't have money. Because in a way, I've stolen my money from that person. In a way. Even though I haven't deliberately done it, the reason I have money is because that person does not have money. I don't know, am I making sense? You're looking a little bit lost.
Sorry, Helena, it's breaking up quite, which is unfortunate. Let's just try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you very well. Okay, so what I'm saying is it's like, how do we bring both sides of the coin, those with money and those who don't have money, into something together in a way that's not a charity situation?
Okay, I'm just going to, can you stop your camera for a second? Let's just see if that works. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is obviously important. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How do we bring the money that is there together with the spaces where the money isn't there? So how do I offer something where those who pay can pay also helps to pay for those who can't pay, but in a deliberate way, in a way of owning responsibility for the fact that they have and they can. So no, they're not doing it because they're being nice people. They're doing it because part of the reason why they have money is the same reason why the other person does not have money.
Okay, so is there a place that you can move closer to your router? That's we're breaking up here, so that's really unfortunate because I'm loving this conversation. The argument on the other side is, well, that's not our problem. We pay taxes, we pay government. They should be sorting this stuff out. And then it gets down to kind of political will and political, because I don't think there's a shortage of money to address these problems. I mean, just the amount of money that's made from sin tax, in terms of, let's hope Helena comes back, but for each bottle of say a bottle of vodka that was sold for $100, $40 goes to tax, yeah, and then that tax should be used to support people that have the problems with alcohol, and that should be going into wellness and education. And when people talk about wellness and education, and they say, well, we must talk about prevention and schools programs. And the trouble with schools programs is they're great, but the teenage brain isn't at a place to absorb it. It needs to be the adults that are treated and educated so that they can guide and mentor. Yeah, but currently what happens, people are getting kind of jailed or criminalized, and that then has a huge effect on community. Please come back, Helena, because I don't know how long I can hold this by myself. Let's see, are there any questions coming in from the audience where we've gone? But it's a fascinating topic. It's something that I love. And you know, why is mental health treatment seen as, why is it so expensive? Yeah. Is it expensive? Yeah. What's the cost of not treating mental health or mental wellness? I'm just going to see where Helena is. Oh dear. All right, I'm going to end this broadcast here. I'm not sure what's happened to Helena, unfortunately. Let's see. Let me try and phone her. We've still got 2 people watching. Who's that? Hey, Dean. Hey, Koresh. Maybe I should have you on here one day. Let's invite you. Maybe you can come join us. Let's see. Do you get that? Do you get this link here? You're welcome to join us now. Click the link and come and join us. Looks like we've lost Helena. Koresh, if you're out there, Sophia, if you want to come in, click the link. Let's see if you come in. Go on, take a risk. Let's take a risk. Who's watching here? Live viewers and David Collins. There's 3 there. 2, we've lost them. All right. Okay, that's a real pity. I was enjoying that. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. David checking out with joy.